You ever see a Mercedes float? Because that's what I was watching Bethany Crankshaw's big white Benz bobbing in her driveway, water up to the headlights, while she hollered from her balcony about lawsuits and damages and whatever else HOA presidents yell about when their world's turning sideways. I couldn't hear a word over the roar of water pouring through the spillway. I just cracked wide open. And yeah, this was all perfectly legal. A federal marshal next to me double-checked his watch and handed me the warrant. 6 hours to make sure every last bit of evidence in those mansions was locked down tight. 6 weeks before that, Bethany tried to bleed me, dry slap me with a $50,000 fine for fixing a dam that was, get this, saving her entire fancy neighborhood from becoming an underwater theme park. Joke was on her. She never bothered to check if the dam was on federal land or that there was a gold vault hidden right under her nose. And she sure didn't know the guy she was strong-arming had spent 15 years as a combat engineer controlling water in places that make this valley look like Disneyland. My name's Decker Rothwell, and a couple months back, I was just another worn-out Army vet hoping to find a quiet place to write an engineering book, maybe catch my breath after all those years overseas. The place I found a chunk of lakeside real estate going dirt cheap at a federal auction seemed like a steal until I realized why nobody else wanted it. House needed everything. The property? It had an old earthen dam, crumbling, overgrown, and one mean storm away from unleashing 12 million gallons of hell on $47 million homes down in Clearwater Estates. You want to know what keeps a man up at night? Try running numbers on how fast a 30-foot wall of water would erase a whole neighborhood. I burned through 30 grand and called in every favor from my Army buddies guys who know their way around concrete in crisis. We rebuilt the base, reinforced the spillway, set up sensors, pressure gauges, cameras, whatever it took to make that dam bulletproof. I didn't do it for thanks, but when Garrison Webb, a 60-something dentist from down below, showed up shaking with gratitude, I'll admit it felt pretty damn good. He swore the whole community owed me their lives. I figured that was the end of it. Maybe a fruit basket. Maybe a thank you barbecue. But you know how it goes. In every paradise, there's a snake. And in this one, her name was Bethany. She rolled up one morning in that Mercedes pearls and power suit. Hair so tight, it looked like it hurt. She barely bothered with pleasantries, just went straight to, "You're being fined for unauthorized work on a historic structure." She flung out official-looking documents, quoted a bunch of regulations, and said I owed her HOA $50,000 or I'd lose my house. That's when I realized this wasn't about rules or history or even safety. This was about power, about her needing to prove that nobody does anything in Clearwater without her say-so. Except, see, she slipped. All her papers were fake strong registry numbers, sketchy signatures, and that historical society she kept quoting. Turns out, the dam wasn't under HOA control it was federal land, still under Army Corps jurisdiction. So I started digging. And what I found, that Bethany owned 6 houses through shell companies, all bought cheap after their previous owners had been fined and harassed into submission. HOA tyranny as a real estate scam. If I just rolled over, I'd be next. Things got weirder. One night, cameras I'd set up caught 2 guys in a black Suburban, no plates, snooping around the dam, taking photos and measurements. Next morning, a letter from the county inspector, threatening criminal charges. Only problem? There's no Wallace Brennan at the county. More fakes. That's when I started documenting everything, building my own case. Bethany wasn't slowing down. She rallied the whole neighborhood, whipped up an engineering report from some bogus company, even told folks I was a dangerous ex-military loose cannon. I played defense until I stumbled on something that changed everything. A sealed tunnel at the dam's base with fresh concrete, new ventilation. Turns out, someone had built an underground vault inside the dam itself. With some help from a buddy in federal records and another at the university, I confirmed it, a massive chamber hidden by years of sneaky construction. Next time the Suburban showed, I was ready. Night vision, cameras, the works. What I saw blew my mind. Men hauling in heavy metal cases. One fell open gold bars. Real, shining gold, piled up like bricks. I called an old Army CO, now at Treasury. That's when the feds got involved, FBI, Treasury, even DEA. They told me to keep playing along, keep documenting, don't tip my hand. All while Bethany kept up her campaign, sending a parade of fake inspectors, trying to make my life miserable, ramping up threats when she realized I wasn't backing down. The feds wanted her on tape, so I set up a negotiation, meeting wired to the gills, trying not to sweat as Bethany and her muscle-bound pals tried to scare me into signing the dam over for inspection access. I played dumb, promised to think it over. That night, I caught someone trying to hack my security camera's military-grade tech. These people weren't playing games. The final act was like a movie night raid. FBI all over the place, helicopters, spotlights, the works. I had one job. Use my dam controls to flood the 6 target properties, cutting them off before evidence could disappear. I did my calculations, opened the spillways, watched the water rise just high enough to turn those houses into islands. FBI teams stormed in, found gold, diamonds, forged documents, weapons enough to make national news for weeks. Bethany, sitting in cuffs, mascara running, tried to spit threats at me. But her world was gone, drowned by her own arrogance. Turns out, she was just a cog in a massive syndicate money laundering through HOAs across 5 states, using fear and fines to keep real homeowners in line while millions in dirty money flowed through secret tunnels. Her plea deal sent her away for decades. The HOA was disbanded, and the residents voted to ban fines forever. I ended up consulting for the Army Corps, turning that old dam into a powerhouse literally. Now it supplies free energy to the valley. Garrison dropped by with a bottle of whiskey one night, handed me a card signed by every family honorary membership in the new voluntary community group. No fees, no fines, just neighbors. I laughed for the first time in months. Bethany still writes me letters from prison talking about revenge, about injustice. I don't bother reading them. I just remember that sometimes the best way to fight bullies isn't with lawyers or threats, but with a lever, some know-how, and a whole lot of stubbornness. Water always finds its level, you know? And just as well, sometimes it takes a flood to wash it clean. So, what do you think? Should I have gone to the media or done it exactly the way I did? Drop your answer in the comments. Tell me your own HOA horror stories. Because if I've learned anything, it's that bullies hate the light. Shine it bright, stand together, and maybe, just maybe, you'll watch your own villains sink beneath the flood. People always think when the feds roll in, when the raid's over, when the bad guys are in handcuffs and the news vans are circling, that's the finish line. Truth is, that's just the start of the mess. I was standing there, boots in mud, staring at the sunrise over a valley I'd half-flooded, watching agents haul out enough gold to sink a yacht. And all I could think was now, what? Nobody gives you a playbook for what to do after you help take down an empire. Within hours, Clearwater Estates looked like a war zone in a John Grisham novel. FBI everywhere. Helicopters chopping the sky. Residents huddled behind crime scene tape, whispering about what they'd missed right under their noses. You could feel decades of fear and control dissolving, replaced by something else: relief, anger, even a little shame. Garrison Webb found me by the dam, voice shaky. We lived with this for years. How could we not know? I just shrugged, told him bullies thrive when neighbors are scared to talk to each other. All Bethany ever did was keep folks divided. The days after the raid blurred together: reporters on my lawn, agents in my kitchen, lawyers calling at all hours. The gold, the diamonds, even famous paintings stashed behind false wall sit was all evidence now, proof of just how big the syndicate had gotten. They raided HOAs in 4 other states that same morning. Over 200 people arrested, more than $1 billion in assets frozen. The country watched the news and saw mansions on islands, saw the headlines about a veteran-turned-engineer who helped drown a cartel with nothing but know-how and a stubborn streak. Bethany? She pled out, traded what she knew for a cell instead of coffin 45 years. No parole, her days of HOA terror over. The others her lawyer, the muscle, all the so-called inspectors, they rolled up their sleeves for mugshots too. The old HOA was voted out by lunchtime, replaced by a voluntary community group with no power to fine, no secret meetings, no rules about mailbox colors. Garrison and the other residents even got settlement checks compensation for years of harassment, legal fees, and sleepless nights. And the dammy dam, the one I'd nearly lost everything to save, finally got the respect it deserved. The Army Corps took over, hired me to consult, paid me more than I ever made as an author or an officer. We rebuilt it from the inside out, turned it into a symbol of protection instead of threat, even installed a hydro generator that now gives the whole valley free electricity. I got to add a plaque on the Spillway dedicated to the 47 families who'd lived in fear and to one stubborn bastard who'd had enough. Funny thing is, with all that money floating around, all that gold and glory, what stuck with me wasn't the fortune. The government handed me a whistleblower award, 10% of assets seized. $40 million. I almost laughed when the agent told me. I'd gone into this just hoping to write a book in peace. Now I had more than enough to buy every house in the valley if I wanted. Instead, I let the houses that were flooded become a park swings and ball fields where mansions once stood, paid for by the syndicate's seized accounts. The old HOA meeting hall, they tore it down and put up a community garden. The kids painted a mural on the wall, "No bullies allowed." You know, I still get letters. Folks from all over the country, Texas, Florida, even upstate New York, asking for advice. How do you fight back when the HOA comes for you? I tell them, shine a light, document everything, and never let them turn your neighbors against you. The engineering textbook I plan to write turned into something else, a handbook for regular people fighting back against abuse. It's free online, downloaded over 1 million times. Chapter 12's my favorite. When they fine you for saving lives, save the receipts instead. A year later, Congress even passed a law, the Clearwater Act, forcing stricter oversight on HOA finances, making it harder for anyone to pull what Bethany did. They invited me to the signing. I passed. I'd had enough of suits and spotlights. These days, I keep it simple. The dam's still running quiet, reliable, doing its job. Sometimes Garrison drops by, brings a bottle, sits with me on the deck watching the sun go down over the valley. He tells me the new community association has only one rule. If your grass gets too tall, bring lemonade to the next potluck, and nobody cares. I laugh every time. I guess what gets me most looking back is how easily it could have ended different. If I'd given up, if I'd just written the check, if I'd listened to Bethany's threats, that gold would still be buried, the syndicate would still be running the show, and families would still be paying fines for the color of their front doors. All it took was one person willing to stand up, to get a little loud, and to trust that, in the end, the truth would float to the surface even if you had to flood a few driveways to prove it. So here's my question, was it worth it? Would you have risked everything, gone toe-to-toe with people that powerful? Or would you have kept your head down, paid the fine, and hoped someone else would step up? Tell me what you would have done. Share your own story. Because the way I see it, justice is a lot like water, it always finds its level. And sometimes, the only way to fix a broken system is to break it open and let the truth come pouring out. Let's hear your take. Who was right? Who was wrong? And what would you have done if the dam was yours? Drop a comment, and let's see where the current carries us next.